Hari Om, ma'am. Hari Om.
Hare Krishna, dear parents. On behalf of me, Nurture Plus, I welcome you all to today's workshop by our esteemed educationist, Miss Kalpana Mohan. As you may be aware, ma'am has been conducting many workshops for us. So I'm sure many are familiar with her. Miss Kalpana Mohan is a teacher by profession hailing from Bangalore, India, with 35 years of teaching and administrative experience to go with. She has won several awards for her contribution to education. Very recently, she was awarded as Distinguished Educator India by AKS in Dubai and bagged the South Indian Women Achievers Award in the field of education. So, over to the today's topic. Are Hindu scriptures really mythology? Because word mythology means something which is false, a misguided belief in imaginary gods and beings which do not exist in reality. So, are our Vedic scriptures such as the Puranas, the Mahabharata, and the Ramayana really mythology? Hinduism is a way of life, a faith, a school of thought. As the topic suggests, today we are sure to get more insights on why our Hindu scriptures cannot be classified as a myth and hence should not be referred to as mythology. Our esteemed speaker, Ms. Kalpana Ma'am, is here to throw light on how, in reality, Hinduism is not mythology, but is pure and absolute science, universal religion, and that which is rich in history of our ancient land. Over to you, Ms. Kalpana Ma'am.
Hare Krishna. Good morning to everybody. Thank you, Vinita, for the introduction. This particular topic, we are running for the third week, that is third fortnight. We are into the third episode. Even though this particular topic has got vast, huge scope, we need to conclude somewhere. So this we can call it as a concluding session. But I want to tell you people is that it will never conclude because this is having a huge scope of getting more and more and more ideas and knowledge about how Hindu scriptures are not myths but reality, and it is true. So today, in the final episode, I would like to bring in few concepts which we have been talking about Ramayana. We spoke about Mahabharata. What all the important scientific facts being told in those epics? They were itihasas. That means thus happened. It was not something which has just been written. Nobody can write some lakh and 50,000 verses by imagining only. They see what is around them and they wrote it. In Ramayana also, what all people have told, it's all there. The complete history of Mahabharata and Ramayana is associated with the daily life of our Indians. So it is history. Till 3,000 years ago, it was all history. Now, now it's called as myth. Why? Basically making it looking like myth. The story of Mahabharata, Ramayana, that's what we say. There is no story. It has actually happened. So how those things has happened, we have seen in last two episodes, and I have given a lot of substantiation and I've given you a lot of examples. So now today I'm taking into a next step and say a few scientific facts, particularly with the space technology and astronomy, where our people were extremely capable and efficient. So that particular part I'm bringing it today, and so please be. It is going to be a little more theoretical, lot of text being to shown to you people. So please be patient because we are in the third session. So more serious business today. Let me share my PPT with you people so that you can easily understand that what we are doing is what our epics, Vedas, Upanishads, all are not only myth, but they are having huge amount of scientific facts and how we were actually not aware of it. That's what I'm just going to show you people. Let me start the today's program with a small question. Let's explore some more facts in continuation from the last party. So now we go into what is called Ved. The word Ved itself comes from, I'll just make it little big, Vid, Dhatu, which means knowledge. Vid means knowledge. If you have not read Vedas, then you will be surprised after looking at some of the mantras. Western scholars like Griffith, Max Muller, and Western Pandits, they all tried whatever they could to defame the Vedas by wrong translations. Whatever it was there in the Vedas, they will say something else. This is the answer because people were not bothered. Even today, we are also not bothered what is there in our Vedas and Upanishads. How many people take Vedas seriously? Somebody you ask, I belong to Yajurveda. How many of us know what is Yajurveda? So this is what we are so careless. We don't know about history. We don't know what's happened in the past generations. But we are just saying that whatever the Westerners put it on paper, black and white, is correct. Sastya Vishesha, Satyam Tvesha, Amavanto, Dhanvanchita, Rudrayas, Piham, Kruna Vanda Yatat. That's what they say. What is that meaning? Cloud rains in those places where atmospheric pressure is low. So today we all get a news. There is a low pressure formation. So you will get rain. It is there in Rig Veda. That means to say they know what is meant by low pressure, how the rain comes in, etc. When people of other countries, they were walking around with leaves and not even using stones as weapon, we were writing Vedas and Upanishads. We are writing about clouds and low pressure, which is long, long ago. We all know that is Adi. There is no, it is Ananta. There is no beginning, there is no end. It's God's own verse. That's what we say. There is no beginning for Vedas. We don't know even who wrote Vedas. So that's the whole thing. Amiye Sapta Rashmayastatra me Nabaratata. Again, as far as 7 color of sunlight goes, you rule that area. Again, the possibility of not having sun. If at all there is no sun, what will happen? Can that kind of question, that critical question has come. If 7 colors of lights are there, then there is life. That is, you can rule. They know what is Vibjyar. That's what we can say. Violet, indigo, blue, green, orange, red, all 7 colors of everything. We talk so much. But they knew it long, long ago. Don't you think what is written is science? Where myth comes here? Vibjyar is myth? No. Sunlight is myth? No. Atmospheric pressure, low atmospheric pressure? Is it a myth? No. Then it is written in Veda. Means how Veda can be myth? Please think over. Again, the light coming from moon is not on its own, but it's the light of sun. It's there in Rig Veda 1.8415. So they say like moon marries all the stars and they take the light of the sun. That's what has been written in that book. So that means to say they know moon is not having its own light, but it reflects the light of the sun. Now they all say it has happened in 1800s and 1900s, but this is long, long ago. Before this, even before what we thought that the history started, even before that. While other sectarian books say the solar eclipse is a bad omen or superpower has covered the sun, the Rig Veda says O sun. When you are blocked by one moon, you give your light. That is moon, as mantra says, the world goes into darkness. That is, moon is getting light from the sun. The one whom you give your light. Sun is giving light to the moon. And moon is blocking the sun to get the eclipse. See, the eclipse is coming. So, that is, what is solar eclipse? Moon coming in between sun and the earth. What is lunar eclipse? It is our earth coming around the sun and the moon. When earth is stopping, the light of sun falling on the moon, we get the eclipse. So eclipse, what is eclipse itself, they know. And they were not saying that it is so bad or anything. They say bacteria is prepared, coming during that time because of lack of sunlight. We all know without sunlight, when raining continuously for 7-8 days, the entire world looks so gloomy. When sun is not out, the world looks gloomy. Even today, it's raining heavily from morning in Bangalore. We are all feeling so bored. I don't want to get up. I don't have energy. I feel like sleeping. Why we say that? Because we don't get sunlight. And that particular time, bacteria are all active. When eclipse comes, that's why we say 3 hours before or 3 hours after, we will not have any food. Because when eclipse is happening, we know our stomach must be empty. That means every time when we go for testing and all, we go with empty stomach. Why? Means there must be no contamination. Similarly, when bacteria are active, if your body is having food in your stomach, there may be contamination. So they say don't take it. It's again superstitious. They say, people say it's superstitious. What happens to us? We all eat. They all eat, they will have a consequence. Those who have not eaten, those who have followed those strictly, they live for 120, 130 years healthy. They walk at the age of 90 and 100. 80-year-old woman does a lot of work because they followed all the things which was told. Heat is essential to produce energy in the body. Now, this is again scientific fact that heat is required to break down food in the body and attain energy. In our body, when the heat becomes low, the energy becomes low, the pulse becomes low. When you don't have breaking of your food stuff in your body, when you eat something, it should break into enzymes, and there are several kind of energy which is formed, proteins, vitamin, carbohydrates, everything, and it should go to the respective part. If the energy is not there, then you are going to lose your health. So for that, what is required? In what we can call it as inside your body is hot. You need to keep the heat in the body. Your temperature, if it's go low or below 90 degrees or 90 to 80 degrees or anything, you are already, your body become cold, you become very thin, you'll be put on the ventilator and so on and so forth. So that is how things are. That was written in Vedas. Fire or heat is required to join objects, compounds and elements. You know physical and chemical changes. So when two things have to be added, you need fire. When we have to make even a small rasam or a curry at home, you need heat. So that is, heat is required. It is scientific that heat is required even to join hydrogen and oxygen compound to get water. Yes. So, and I've written where the verses are taken from. Actually, to be honest, Rig Veda or Yajurveda or other Veda, everything, I have not read the entire thing. But there are evidences, there are places which I could find where all scientific facts are available in Vedas. Vedas are full of science, but it to the thousands of years of slavery and inferiority complex. The moment you say it is there in our Hinduism, oh, our people don't know, because we always go with glamour, attraction. Only when people are going to dance and sing and jump, you think that it's all nice. Ours is puja, vrata, making mantras. It is all old fashioned, but that is the modern thing that we are actually missing out. We have started to believe whatever is told to us by the missionaries is a single source community. That's what we think. That is where we left, and we have missed out so many things in our life. Now, technology has brought in a lot of information to us, and we must make use of it. We must bring back the old glory. That's what for the past probably 10 to 15 weeks, I've been talking to all the people. We bring in past glory. In Hinduism or Sanatana Dharma, there is no Hinduism. I don't call them Hinduism at all. It is called Sanatana Dharma. The Sanatana Dharma is highly informative, scientific, and also making people's life in a very good, leading life in a good way. It's a way of life. So let's understand and bring back the old glory. Some of the things which these are all you must have read in all the WhatsApp messages. I also put it here, but still, why I brought it here? It is because Tulsidas didn't do this on his own. He read the Vedas very well. From there, he got this line. In 2 lines, he brings a scientific fact which was told in Vedas. Saint Tulsidas derived the distance of the sun from Vedas and applied in Hanuman Chalisa. So he wanted to tell, Hanuman went and took the fal, that is thinking sun is a fal. And so there he brings the distance between sun and the earth. We all know, Yuga Jagasya Yojana Parvanu, Lilyotahi Madhur Paljanu. So he is what Hanuman thought. Madhurpal, it is a very sweet fruit, the sun. So for that, how much jump he is doing? He is doing Jug, Sahasra Yojan. 1 yug is 12,000 years. 1 Sahasra is 1,000. Sahasra is Sahasra. We know Sahasra Namam, 1,000. Then 1 Yojan, 8 miles. And you can multiply all the 3. How much it is? I don't know the number. You can say that. So that is the miles. And now again, you can show in kilometers also. This is the distance between the sun and the earth. And it is also our one person who can, the authority of astrophysics, astronomy, everything, the NASA. That one they have confirmed. That is the distance between sun and the moon. So that time there were no telescope, no satellites were sent. How they know the distance? That means to say the knowledge with which they were living. We don't know how they got it. Since because we don't know how the figure came out, how it came out, we don't know. So we think that what they said is wrong. Is it wrong? The distance between sun and the earth? No, it's correct. How they can calculate? They didn't have any equipment. And since because they didn't have any equipment, which we don't know, maybe they had something. We have to go to all the temples and see where something is being given. Any clue do we get? We are getting lot of clue nowadays because people do bring that out. Even though local people know so many things about their temple, they're scared. They're not able to bring it out. They think that everybody will come and make fun. When people wear a tilak and go out, people do make fun. And we are all succumbing to it. Why then you should stand up and say, it is my religion, I'm wearing it. Why can't you say that? We don't say that because we feel so inferior. On what basis we are inferior? In fact, showing our culture and strongly believing it is the best thing to do. We cannot have that as negative. That's the culture. The culture has to be followed. Okay, it's okay. You wear whatever you want, you dress up whatever you want. But when it comes to our things, we need to follow the culture. So, Tulsidas is referred scientific Ramayana and composed Hanuman Chalisa. Ramayana did happen and the true history of Bharat. That's what is written here. And there is you can see the background. There is a website called haribhakt.com. You can go there. You get lots and lots and lots of information. Now here, one more is the verses from Aitareya Brahmana. The sun does never set nor rise. You know, till in history books we see, till Magellan came around the earth, everybody was thinking earth is flat. Even when Magellan came and told, Galileo told earth is round, he was killed. But when what we are talking here, earth is not flat, it is round, spherical. This one we have spoken even in our first episode itself, like when Varaha Avatara, in that Bhuma Devi was lifted by Varaha and Bhuma Devi is shown as a globe. So we all know that earth is a spherical structure. So when people think the sun is setting, it is not so. For after having arrived at the end of the day, it makes itself produce two opposite effects, making night what is below and day what is the other side. Hemisphere, the earth hemisphere is being told. Having reached the end of the night, it makes itself produce two opposite effects, making a day to what it is below night and what is the other is the sign. In fact, sun never sets. Shape of the earth is like an obsolete spheroid. Earth is flattened at the poles. That is written in Markandeya Purana. You can see all the three pictures what I have chosen. Dance of Bhagavan Nataraj showing world is round. Aitareya Brahmana and Rig Veda informed Hindus about spherical earth 10,000 years ago. This 10,000 again is a symbolic number. It is more than that. And the axis is supposed to be Mount Kailash, axis of the earth. That's what it says. So when Vedas said it is spherical, oh, Hindu is, it's Hindu side, it's mythology, we all made fun. But Western side is when it is spherical, wow, what a discovery by the West. That's what we did. So we all follow cool dudes. Whatever they say, we say yes to it. But whenever people say some scientific and correct facts, we make fun of them. We need, and what we have is something which is very big treasure, the Vedas. Whatever is happening in earth, whatever will happen in the earth, whatever will happen in the universe, every single thing is narrated in that. That means to say, we are ignorant because we say that it's all myth. And when others say it is a myth, at least we say they are following their religion. We ourselves, we live in India, we belong to Sanatana Dharma. We ourselves say if it is a myth, then it is sadness. It is a very big sadness because we need to understand what we have in our place is the big, big treasure. It's like always telling, I don't have, but others have. I don't have. It is like telling that whatever we have is bad and whatever the other is having good. Always the other side is green. So we leave that kind of thing. That is only myth. Saying Indian Vedas are myth is a myth. Indian Vedas are history, science, complete pure science. Again, you can see this gravity. Gravity was discovered by Newton, 64, all big thoughts from 1816s and things like that. See here, in 64 centuries before Newton, all sustaining through establishing or all illuminating and powerful sun, you maintain control over all cosmic body through mutual forces. That's what Rig Mandal 8th chapter says, 12 verse and 30. I am Gau, Prishinir Kamad Asadam, Matram Pura, Pitaram Cha, Parayantavaha. Shukla Yajurveda also says that. That means all the planets around the sun are being held by a force, which we call it as gravity. It is written here. Not on, and we say Newton, when apple came on his head, so he discovered gravity. In fact, we were all living in a world, we all know that we have been attached to the ground because of the earth's gravity. Everybody knows about it. Our Vedas said, our Upanishads said, everybody said, and even normal people who are there walking like that, and also they knew. They have not read about Newton, they have not read about it, but they know. Akashna Sakti, they know. But they didn't open their mouth. They said, whatever the Westerners said, okay, fine. That's all. We left it like that. So now we are actually facing the wrath of ignorance and carelessness. I don't call it as ignorance, it's carelessness. Are chalo, whatever they say, let them say. I know it. Like how we almost lost turmeric to other countries. In our house and all, turmeric is for ages. But what happened? Some country is telling that it is mine. And finally, we have to go to the International Court of Law, and say, oh, this thing. It's going to happen. It's going to happen if we are going to do it like this. See how the first law of motion and command. There is a Prachin Bharat Mahavijnani Maharishi Kanad. And Newton is standing next to him. So, I'm not going to read the Sanskrit word. He said the chain of motion is to impressed force. Vega, Vegaha. That is, he's talking about the speed. Kanad. So, when it is based on Karmane Jayate. With the force only, the speed is can be drawn. That is the law of inertia. The second law also of motion. Who said that? Kanada said. So, The change of motion is proportional to force impressed on it and the direction of the right line, etc., etc. This is written by him. Karmano jayate niyadrat kriya prabandhat hetuhu. Then, third law, vegaha, that is speed, has got every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Samyoga vishesha virodhi. That is the one which is going up and coming back. These three are laws of motion or by Kannan, who lived before, long ago before Newton. That means to say it has been taken from Vedas, which we don't know. People have carried it. In Germany, there is a huge library having our scripts. If anybody goes there, they will know. That is Max Muller did that, all the damage. So that means they have taken everything from us. Very simple. So what Prabhupada, our Srisela Prabhupada, our ISKCON founder, he said, in these 7 planetary systems, which are also known as subterranean heavens, Bila, Swarga, there are very beautiful houses, garden, and places of sense of enjoyment, which are even more opulent than those in higher planets, because the demons have a very high standard of sensual pleasure, wealth, and influence. Most of the residents of these planets, who are known as Daityas, Dhanavas, and Nagas, their wives, children, friends, and society are fully engaged in illusory material happiness. The sense of enjoyment of the demigod is sometimes disturbed, but the residents of these planets enjoy life without disturbances. Thus, they are understood to be very attached to illusionary happiness. So that was the Vedic manifestation of truth rephrased by modern science. That means to say, there is a place where you get completely beautiful, happy settings. That is what the Sanatana Dharma says. Where there is philosophy is the main concept of all our Vedas. When you have complete eternal association, spiritual knowledge, spiritual awareness, and it is not the houses or garden or sense of enjoyment. It is basically a symbolic representation of how a human being can keep themselves happy. They need to be spiritually oriented, ask questions why, what, and how it has happened, and why it is happening. Answers are available in Vedas. That's what Prabhupada says. When you are not going to look into all those things and say that others, whatever others say, whatever somebody else is giving you like small pleasure, then if that is going to be the order of the day, you will have enjoy life, material pleasure, but there is no real happiness. The real happiness comes only when you start realizing, you start understanding what is there in our own Vedas and Upanishads, our own culture, our own text and scriptures. The scriptures, what we are talking about. We go to the temple, lots are written on the walls. Because that time, everything was inscribed on the walls of the temple so that people in the future generation will read it. Now, what has happened was, the people who started reading it is not our people. It is the people who have come and enslaved us, the people who conquered us, the people who wanted to kill us, people who want to convert us. So that is what has happened. When that has happened, they just started twisting and turning whatever is written on the thing. See, there was a small example. It is not there in my slide. I just want to add it. See, it is written, for the Brahmins, the brain is important. For the Kshatriya, the shoulder is important because he is going to fight. For the Vaishya, the walking, the brain, the looking, hands and things are important. The people who are going to do buying and selling and all the things. And for the Shudra, the leg is important because they need to do a lot of hard work. This is the meaning which was given in our Manu Dharma. You know how it got interpreted? Made people to go against each other? Is that, Oh, Brahmin was born in the head of the god, shoulder Kshatriyas got, stomach Vaishyas came, and from the leg the Shudras came. It was interpreted in a different way. It's wrong. But the correct information is that. Who needs what energy? The Brahmins had to remember things because mantras were transferred from one mind to another mind. In fact, the term called telepathy, which came in 1819 or 2019, 1890s, was there. You can read the mind of other people. That's what is given in Vedas and all the other texts in that. People, when they read one mind to another, that itself is there. That's a very, very high level artificial intelligence, high knowledge. But what has happened is people are interpreting it wrongly to just make a division in caste. Casteism was not there in Veda time. It was man-made. It was done when we were enslaved and conquered. And now we are believing it was there long, long ago. It's wrong. For something they are substantiating through Vedas only, which they called as myth. Now how it can be become, then why you take that? So headless Brahmins require the memory. So they said they start with the head. Shoulders are for fighting, Kshatriya. So when we are getting things misinterpreted, we don't ask questions. We just take it and start believing it. When one lie has been told 100 times, it becomes true. And that is what has happened. And we were told Ramayana and Mahabharata stories and we started believing it. So some of the things which are wrongly misinterpreted, we started believing it. Somebody sent some story on their own, we started believing it. Somebody said Ravana is a very, very great person and he didn't do anything. He just kept Sita and for the protection, and she is the daughter of Ravana. We believed it. Everything we believed because somebody has told. Some Ramayana came, some interpretation came. Actually, Sanatana Dharma is the only religion in which even atheists are taken. They are also considered Sanatani. The people who say no God also we can take. That is how the Sanatana Dharma works. So when Vedas and Upanishads told all the things and we accepted everything, then who we are? We are the people who made our own religion a mockery. Our own following is a mockery. Our dharma, we call it as mockery. Please start thinking about it. So it is known as Manual of Universe. All scientific phenomena are present in latent or obvious form in vast creation of Sri Krishna, because Srila Prabhupada is a person who brought in the consciousness, Krishna conscious to the world. He traveled alone in a cargo ship. He was there in a foreign land and brought in our culture. Today, Germany, New Zealand, Tanzania, Nigeria, Namibia, where you want. Everybody says Hare Krishna, Mahamantra. It's because of him. He says that. As says in Srimad Bhagavatam is the life story of Krishna. The Lord is a super soul, prevails all things, just as fire permeates wood. So he appears to be of many varieties, though he is absolute, one without a second. There is nobody second to the Lord himself. That brought in oneness. Oneness has come in Srila Prabhupada, and he told in all the Vedas and Upanishads are Manual of Universe. It is that thing how you should live. How you buy a television and you get a manual. How you get a washing machine, you get a manual for the universe. How the universe was and is and how it will be. The manual is Veda. That's what Prabhupada says. The manual, which is in our hand, will give you all the information. It brings in all the important events. It brings in all the important practices. Everything is there in Vedas. Somebody told me in Vedas there is no word called God. No. It is told a supreme power. Actually this particular thing can go into 3-4 more episodes just to make how the world is made, universe. Big Bang Theory, how it is called Big Bang Theory. It's all there. It's all there in Vedas. How if 2-3 planets collided with each other, everything has been written. How the first thing came. I have told about theory of evolution. Today in one of the papers, 4-5 days ago, how Charles Darwin's theory of evolution is not correct. It is incorrect. But our theory of evolution, the Dashavatara, Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, that is from the water, how the present day intelligent, knowledgeable, manipulating human being came. That is there in our Vedas and Upanishads. It's there. How can you say it's not there? They are talking about superhuman being. So we don't believe what we have. We don't eat what we have. We think something else is there. Our rice, our millets are very good, but we live for burgers and pizzas. How it is possible? It's not going to work for us. In a hot sunny day, you are wearing a coat and walking around, sweating inside and stinking. For that, you put one perfume. You know, even about the perfume, there is a column in Vedas, and it has been taken by France. The book is there in German. You can just check that out. So every single thing is there in that. So it's a manual how to live, what all we should do, what all we should not do. To do something wrong, what is the remedy? All there. Everything is there in that Veda. That's what Prabhupada says. And out of context, little I want to bring this one small thing, because when I was going through, I like this part. Even in our punishments, when you are giving some kind of thing, we had science in it. That is also told in Vedas, how you worship Ganesha. You do Topukarnam. It is Tamil in Topukarnam. Actually, it's called Torpi Karnam. Torpi is Karnam is and it's in the hand like this. So, holding the right ear with your left and left ear like simultaneously performing sit-ups. That's called Topukarnam. It is in Tamil language. So, how Ganesha is worshipped. So, in the United States, they are now performing the act of Topukarnam and named it as super brain yoga. So, when Westerners say super brain yoga, we take it. Otherwise, that is called as a very bad. Oh, they are people making do Topukarnam. They are asking them to squat. Wow, how bad it is. It is all like that. But this is the superhuman brain yoga. That's what US says today. So when US says, he'll say, yeah, US people only told. No? Then it's correct. Till then, it's not correct. So how it is promoted widely, and it is also given as a treatment for patients like dementia and Alzheimer's disease, and for children who are suffering from autism and mental disorders. Earlier, when there is an issue of memory, when the children are going for examination after studying so much and little confused, they go to Ganesha, they pray, and they did Topukarnam every day, 10 times, 11 times, 9 times. Even today, I tell you honestly, every day, if you do 8 Topukarnam, just 8 of them, anyone, you see how the energy flows into your body. So this is what our ancestors have said. Science, whatever they said, there is no superstition, there is no myth. And neurobiology researchers, Eunice Jan Jr. claim the practice of Topukarnam is an excellent stimulant for neutral pathways in the brain, and the acupuncture points in the earlobes are activated, thereby synchronizing the right and left hemisphere of the brain, which is drug-free methodology, increase mental energy. We need to put it in English word, big neutral pathways, acupuncture point, activated, synchronizing, left hemisphere, right hemisphere, all big term. But simple term, what we did, catch like this and do Topukarnam. See, when people are not understanding, even layman can understand these kind of instructions, and what we call them as superstition. And when US called it super brain yoga, we said, yeah, super brain yoga. That is what we are. We are actually having inferiority complex. Just come out of it. We are nowhere inferior. Everybody, at least few verses of Veda, something to do with that. If you start reading, you will get to have more and more information, and you will start feeling proud about yourself. So I just want to show a video, which is 10 minutes video, it is in Telugu, but there is a English subtitles for that. Even though little out of context, the rest of the thing, it's like a complete summary of 3 continuous weeks of whatever we have done. Please go through it, and actually it will be really, really useful for all of us. I'll just share it with you quickly. Hope it is visible to everybody. Is it seen for everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
హాయ్ ఫ్రెండ్స్, వెల్కమ్ టు టిఎఫ్సి మీడియా ప్లానెట్ లీవ్. యుగ యుగాల భారతదేశ చరిత్రలో అడుగడుగున ఎందరో మహానుభావులు తమ వద్ద ఉన్న విద్యా భాండాగారాన్ని గ్రంథస్థం చేసి భావితరాలకు అందించారు. పాశ్చాత్య ప్రపంచం ఓనమాలు నేర్చుకుంటున్న సమయంలోనే సమస్త విద్యలపై అధ్యయనం చేసి అమూల్యమైన విద్యా సంపదను పంచిపెట్టిన కొంతమంది మహాపురుషుల గురించి, వారు రాసిన గ్రంథాల గురించి, ఆ గ్రంథాలలో ఉన్న వెలకట్టలేని విద్య గురించి నేటి సమాజంలోని చాలా మందికి తెలియదనే చెప్పాలి. అటువంటి వారికి మన మహనీయుల ప్రజ్ఞా పాఠవాలు ఈ వీడియోలో చూపించబోతున్నాను. మరి ఆ విషయాలు తెలుసుకునే ముందు పిల్లలకి ఆనందాన్ని, జ్ఞానాన్ని, తెలివితేటలను పెంచే యానిమేటెడ్ వీడియోస్ కొరకు మా స్లేట్ కిడ్స్ ఛానల్ ని సబ్స్క్రైబ్ చేసుకోండి. ఆ ఛానల్ తో పాటు మా ఇతర ఛానల్ లింక్స్ ఈ వీడియో క్రింద ఉన్న డిస్క్రిప్షన్ లో పొందుపరిచాను. వాల్మీకి రామాయణం, వ్యాస మహర్షి మహాభారతాన్ని రాసినట్లు మనలో చాలా మందికి తెలుసు. అయితే వీరే కాకుండా ఎందరో అపర విద్యా కౌశలులు ఆధునిక విద్యకు కూడా అందనంత రీతిలో మహాగ్రంథాలు రాశారు. వారి వివరాలు ఈ విధంగా ఉన్నాయి. వాల్మీకి. ఈ మహానుభావుడి పేరు చెప్పగానే ఆయన రచించిన రామాయణం గుర్తుకు వస్తుంది. అయితే ఈయన రామాయణంతో పాటు అక్షర లక్ష అనే ఒక అద్భుతమైన గ్రంథాన్ని మనకు అందించారనే విషయం ఎంతమందికి తెలుసు? ఈ గ్రంథం అప్పట్లోనే రచించిన ఒక ఎన్సైక్లోపీడియా వంటిది. ఈ గ్రంథంలో రేఖా గణితం, బీజ గణితం, త్రికోణమితి, భౌతిక గణిత శాస్త్రం మొదలైన 325 రకాల గణిత ప్రక్రియల గురించి, ఇంకా ఖనిజ శాస్త్రం, భూగర్భ శాస్త్రం, జలయంత్ర శాస్త్రం, గాలి, విద్యుత్, ఉష్ణములను కొలిచే పద్ధతులు వంటి ఎన్నో విషయాల గురించి విపులంగా వివరించబడింది. ఈ గ్రంథంలోని ఏ ఒక్క శాస్త్రం పైనైనా పూర్తి అవగాహన తెచ్చుకుంటే మనం ఆ రంగంలో ప్రపంచ ప్రసిద్ధి చెందడంలో ఎటువంటి సందేహం లేదు. ఖండిక ఋషి. ఈయన గురించి చాలా తక్కువ మందికే తెలుసని చెప్పాలి. కానీ ఈయన రచించిన శబ్దశాస్త్రం ఎంతో ప్రఖ్యాతి చెందింది. ఈ గ్రంథంలో సృష్టిలోని అన్ని రకాల ధ్వనులను, ప్రతిధ్వనులను గురించి వివరించారు. ముఖ్యంగా ఈ గ్రంథంలోని 5 అధ్యాయాలు కృత్రిమంగా ధ్వనులు ఎలా సృష్టించడం, వాటి స్థాయి, వేగాలు ఎలా కొలవడం అనే విషయాల గురించి క్షుణ్ణంగా వివరించబడింది. కశ్యప ముని. ఈయన రచించిన శిల్పశాస్త్రం అమోఘమని చెప్పాలి. ఈ శాస్త్రంలో 22 అధ్యాయాలుండగా వాటిలో 307 రకాల శిల్పాల గురించి, 101 రకాల విగ్రహాల గురించి సంపూర్ణంగా వివరించబడింది. అంతేకాకుండా ఆలయాలు, రాజభవనాలు, చావడులు మొదలైన అన్ని రకాల నిర్మాణ విషయాలు 1000కి పైగా ఉన్నాయి. ఈ శాస్త్రంలో విశ్వామిత్రుడు, మయుడు, మారుతి మొదలగు ఋషులు చెప్పిన ఎన్నో విషయాలు కశ్యప ముని పొందుపరిచాడు. సుకేసుడు. మన పురాతన భారతీయులు వండుకునే అన్ని రకాల వంటల గురించి, అవి తినడం వల్ల మానవులకు కలిగే లాభాల గురించి సుకేశముని సూపశాస్త్రాన్ని రచించాడు. ఇందులో ఊరగాయలు, పిండి వంటలు, తీపి పదార్థాలు, 108 రకాల వ్యంజనాలు మొదలగు అనేక రకాల వంటకాలతో పాటు ఆ కాలంలో ప్రపంచవ్యాప్తంగా వాడుకలో ఉన్న 3032 రకాల పదార్థాల తయారీ గురించి చెప్పబడింది. ఋష్య శృంగముని. ఈయన రాసిన మాలిని శాస్త్రంలో వివిధ రకాల పూల గురించి, ఆ పూలతో అల్లే దండలు, వివిధ రకాల శిరో అలంకరణతో పాటు పూల రేఖలపై రహస్య భాషలో సందేశాలు రాసే విధానం గురించి వివరించబడింది. ఈ విషయాలన్నీ 16 అధ్యాయాలలో పొందుపరిచాడు. అశ్విని కుమార సహా. ఈయన లోహాలపై రాసిన ధాతు శాస్త్రం మహత్తర గ్రంథంగా పేర్కొనవచ్చు. ఈ గ్రంథంలో మొత్తం 7 అధ్యాయాలుండగా వాటిలో లోహాల గురించి, కృత్రిమ లోహాల తయారీ, లోహాల మిశ్రమం వల్ల వచ్చే ఫలితాల గురించి వివరించాడు. ఇదే గ్రంథంలో రాగిని బంగారంగా ఎలా మార్చాలి అనే అంశంపై కూడా ఈయన వివరించాడట. కానీ కాలగమనంలో ఈ గ్రంథానికి సరైన రక్షణ లేక ఈ విషయాలు చాలా వరకు నాశనమైనాయి. అశ్విని కుమారుడు లోహాల మీదే కాకుండా 32 రకాల విషాలు, వాటి గుణాలు, ప్రభావాలు, వాటిని ఉపయోగించే పద్ధతి, పొరపాటున ఆ విషాలు మానవ శరీరంలోకి వెళ్తే ఆ విషాలకు విరుగుడు వంటి విషయాలను విషశాస్త్రం అనే గ్రంథంలో స్పష్టంగా రాశాడట. భీముడు. భీముడి పేరు చెప్పగానే అతని బల పరాక్రమాలు, గదా విద్య నైపుణ్యం గుర్తుకు వస్తుంది. అయితే ఆయన గురించి మరో కోణం చాలా తక్కువ మందికి తెలుసని చెప్పాలి. భీముడు బలంలోనే కాకుండా చిత్రలేఖనంలో ప్రావీణ్యుడు. ఈయన ప్రావీణ్యం ఎంతటిదంటే ఒక మనిషి గోరు గాని, తల వెంట్రుక గాని, ఎముకను గాని చూసి ఆ వ్యక్తిలా బొమ్మను గీయగలిగేవాడట. ఈయన ఈ వివరాలతో పాటు 200 రకాల చిత్రలేఖన ప్రక్రియల గురించి చిత్రకర్మ శాస్త్రం అనే గ్రంథాన్ని కూడా రచించాడు. ఈ వివరాలన్నీ 12 అధ్యాయాలలో పొందుపరిచాడు. మల్లుడు మహాబలవంతుడిగా మన పురాణాలు చెబుతున్నాయి. ఈయనతో ముష్టిఘాతానికి దిగడం అంటే యమపురికి దారి వెతుక్కున్నట్లే అని మన పూర్వీకులు చెప్పారు. ఈయన వ్యాయామాలు, వాటి వల్ల కలిగే ఉపయోగాలు, ఆటల వల్ల కలిగే లాభాలు, ఒట్టి చేతులతో చేసే 24 రకాల పోరాట విద్యల గురించి మల్లశాస్త్రం అనే గ్రంథాన్ని లిఖించాడు. వాత్సాయన మహాముని ఈ పేరు వినగానే అందరికీ ఆయన రాసిన కామశాస్త్రం గుర్తుకు వస్తుంది. అయితే ఈయన దానితో పాటు రత్న పరీక్ష అనే గ్రంథాన్ని కూడా రాశాడు. ఈ శాస్త్రంలో రత్నాలకు ఉన్న 24 లక్షణాలు, వాటి శుద్ధతను పరీక్షించడానికి 32 పద్ధతులు, వాటి బరువు తూచే విధానం, వాటి రూపం వంటి విషయాల గురించి ఈ శాస్త్రంలో పొందుపరిచాడు. వీరబాహు ఈయనను సుబ్రహ్మణ్య స్వామి శిష్యుడిగా మన పురాణాలలో చెప్పబడింది. ఈయన రచించిన మహేంద్రజాల శాస్త్రంలో నీటిపై నడవడం, గాలిలో తేలడం వంటి ఎన్నో చిత్ర విచిత్ర భ్రమలను కల్పించే గారడీల గురించి వివరించబడింది. వ్యాసుడు వేదాలను క్రమబద్ధీకరించాడు కాబట్టి ఈయనను వేదవ్యాసుడు అని అంటారు. ఈయన పేరు వినగానే అందరికీ మహాభారతం గుర్తుకు వస్తుంది. అయితే ఈయన మహాభారతంతో పాటు ఎన్నో గ్రంథాలను మానవాళికి అందించాడు. వాటిలో ఒకటి అర్థశాస్త్రం. ఈ గ్రంథం మొత్తం 3 భాగాలుగా విభజించి వాటిని 82 విధానాలుగా ధనం ఎలా సంపాదించాలో వివరించారట. దీని ఆధారంగానే కౌటిల్యుడు అర్థశాస్త్రాన్ని మరింత విపులంగా వివరించి దానిని గ్రంథస్థం చేశాడని ఒక వాదన. అయితే నేటికి చాణక్యుడు రచించిన అర్థశాస్త్రమే ప్రాచుర్యంలో ఉంది. అగస్త్య మహాముని మన పురాణాలలో అగస్త్య మహాముని గురించి ఎన్నో విషయాలు చెప్పబడ్డాయి. ఈయన మహామునిగా అపార విద్యా పారంగతుడిగా మన వేదాలలో చెప్పబడింది. ఈయన రాసిన శక్తి తంత్రం అనే గ్రంథంలో సూర్యుడు, చంద్రుడు, గాలి, అగ్ని, భూమి మొదలైన 64 రకాల బాహ్య శక్తులు, వాటి వినియోగాల గురించి వివరించబడింది. అంతేకాదు ఇందులో అత్యంత శక్తివంతమైన, ప్రమాదకరమైన అణ్వస్త్ర తయారీ, వాటి విచ్ఛేదన గురించి వివరించబడిందట. మతంగ ఋషి ఈయన సౌదామిని కళ అనే గ్రంథాన్ని లిఖించాడు. ఈ గ్రంథంలో నీడల ద్వారా, ఆలోచనల ద్వారా మనిషి మానసిక ప్రవర్తన గురించి చెప్పబడింది. అంతేకాకుండా భూమి, పర్వతాలలోని లోపలి భాగాల ఛాయాచిత్రాలను గీసే ప్రక్రియ గురించి చెప్పబడింది. అత్రిముని ఈయన వాతావరణంపై ఎన్నో పరిశోధనలు చేశాడట. ఈయన రాసిన మేఘశాస్త్రం అనే గ్రంథంలో 12 రకాల మేఘాలను, 12 రకాల వర్షాలను, 64 రకాల మెరుపులను, 33 రకాల పిడుగుల గురించి విపులంగా వివరించబడింది. అథర్వణ వేదం మన హైందవ ధర్మంలో పేర్కొనబడిన 4 వేదాలలో ఒకటి. ఈ వేదాన్ని ఎందరో మహారుషులు, దేవతలు లిఖించినట్లు మన పురాణాలు చెబుతున్నాయి. ఈ వేదంలో స్థాపత్య విద్య అనే అంశం ఒకటి ఉంది. ఇందులో ఇంజనీరింగ్, ఆర్కిటెక్చర్ విద్యల గురించి, నగరాల ప్రణాళిక, కట్టడాలు మొదలైన సమస్త నిర్మాణ విషయాల గురించి పొందుపరిచారు. ఈ 15 శాస్త్రాలే కాకుండా అగ్నివర్మ రచించిన అశ్వశాస్త్రం, కుమారస్వామి రచించిన గజశాస్త్రం, భరద్వాజ మహాముని రచించిన యంత్రశాస్త్రం వంటి శాస్త్రాలతో పాటు ఆయుర్వేదం, ధనుర్వేదం వంటి ఎన్నో శాస్త్రాలను గ్రంథస్థం చేసి మన పూర్వీకులు మనకు అందించారు. అయితే కాలగమనంలో వచ్చిన ఎన్నో ప్రళయాలు, యుద్ధాలు వంటి వాటి వల్ల చాలా గ్రంథాలు నాశనమవ్వగా మరికొన్ని నిర్లక్ష్యం వల్ల పాడైపోయాయి. వీటిలో కొన్ని మటుకు ఇప్పటికీ కొన్ని ప్రదేశాలలో భద్రపరిచారు. వీటిని గనుక ఈ కాలంలోని శాస్త్రవేత్తలు బాగా అధ్యయనం చేసి వినియోగంలోకి తెస్తే ప్రపంచం కని విని ఎరుగని అద్భుతాలు సృష్టించవచ్చు.
So how do you like this video? I think it's very good. So I will just conclude like this. Now ask yourself, why don't we learn about Vedas in school? Instead, we are blindfolded and told us it is all just some Hindu mythology. not just by your government, but also Indian government. In fact, some of these scientists were grateful to Indians too for restoring Vedic knowledge even after being invaded by barbaric Mughals and Britishers, being under the siege over 800 years. For the same reason, we have never taught about real achievements of Mr. Nikola Tesla, some of the other like-minded great scholars, scientists, who we may never know since they were removed from history for vested interest. So, demeaning ancient Vedic science is unfair, is our conclusion. So, let me come back. Sorry, let me come back and check with you people how we can work on our own culture, our own Vedic values and things like that. I am open for questions now. I have 8 minutes time. Please go ahead and ask questions. I'm ready to answer. You can put it in your chat box so that I can type the answers also. Please unmute yourself to ask question. Yes, Sanjana ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, thank you so much, first of all, for sharing your very interesting inputs. And I am a person who also believes a lot in our traditional values. And part of that is also the reason why I try to, at least me and my husband, both of us, we try to share with our children, the need for being adhered to our value system. But here is where our challenge is, because both my children they are on the, they are, one is 16, one is 12. So while they have been introduced, in fact, my children can chant the Chalisa, they've been learning the things, but for them it is more, they are not able to connect to the essence, to the level at which an adult can. So, how can we bring about that connect to them and understand the value? Because even when they chant, sometimes when they mispronounce words and things, we try to tell them the importance of the ucharana. And, for them, it is just like, you get the task done and move on. That immaturity of age, I can say, if it is. So how can I impress upon them that what they're doing is not just a routine, but it is actually an essential part of who we are?
Ma'am, actually, when we start with the children, when we are young, the children are young, we start with them A for apple and B for thing, and we talk so many things about them. We teach them so many things, their own mother tongue, their important words and things like that. When we do that, when we are, the children are started knowing about it, slowly it becomes a practice. Whichever is made into a practice and habit becomes a character of the person. So when we start with a little doubt, or whether we ourselves are not convinced in so many areas, the same thing cannot be transferred to the children. I do agree that people do believe in our thing, and we don't know how to put across to the younger generation, because we didn't ask any questions when we were young. We just took it as the adults say. So now it is our duty to go through everything, get convincing answers, and give back to the children. So how do we do that? Now, we have a very big tool in our hand. We have a lot of information available, good or bad. Coin the information, filter them, and you start collect information to pass it on to the children with conviction. So the moment we give the conviction and the correct answer, reason out to the children, they will do what they are supposed to do. We also do it mechanically, means children also will do mechanically. So it is from the parent side. Whatever I say here, whatever I'm going to give suggestion, may or may not work properly. It is not a prescription. It should be completely what is the real problem we have to diagnose and give accordingly. So when we have an issue in the house, where exactly the children are having some kind of doubt, where exactly they are lacking the interest, that place has to be identified and act accordingly. So for which we need to collect more and more information wherever it is possible and prostitute over to the younger generation. I have seen Even though we tell so many things to our children, you have to do this, you have to do this. Why are we doing? We are not able to say. Get the answers. I suggest you please, if at all it is possible, if you read Tamil, you can take Devatin Kural, or you can read God's Voice. It's written, it's come in English also, where our Kanchi Mahaperiyava, Chandrasekhar Saraswati Swamigal, answered every single Hindu question answered in that. You can go through such kind of books. I think you will be able to crack it.
Thank you so much.
Then again, Manya Goja is asking how to believe like things like Hanuman flying or some other supernatural things captured in Ramayana. You say it's real and history. Can you help here? Ma'am, again, exactly what I told Sanjana ma'am is the same. First and foremost, we should start believing. It's not happened yesterday or day before. Every third, whatever has happened, has not happened 50 years ago. Probably in 1969, if somebody has told that I can talk to you like this over online, people would have laughed. They would say, oh, it's all myth, it cannot happen and things like that. In fact, in Mahabharata, Sanjaya gave the description of the war through a television only. We call it as television or narration. Aanko Dekha Hal, he gave the running commentary. So it has happened in Mahabharata. Is it not happening today? Similarly, there are several areas, several features which can be happening in future, and so make the people believe it. It has happened long time. It may come back again. Maybe people can fly on their own. We can have the power of doing that. Today itself, there are people who are the robots are all given energy from the back. Jet is happening. It is flying. We don't know what has happened that time. So we have always said that it's all myth. It's all some story. So tell the children it has happened like that. How they see today will be yesterday it was not there. You are seeing it today. What they are not seeing today will be seen tomorrow. So that's all happened, making them to believe it. That's very important. More questions, please. Can I have some more questions? Is it what we are going to? Yes, Sanjana ma'am, you have another one.
Yes, ma'am, actually, because you mentioned about how there is a volume of information available. Yeah. So the problem is this information is also available in other areas where automatically children gravitate towards. So, this is like, it is also a topic of interest. So when they're very small, we can capture their interest through the, stories of charm and, wit and all those things. But as they grow older and they start asking more solid questions, and then the practices and some of the things, as you said, we were more, malleable to suggestions given by us, the elders, which is not the case with the current children.
Absolutely.
And with the current platform, actually, this is where I'm having an issue because we are all online and getting the children off from that and doing something hands-on, at home. So to get them to have an interaction with us itself is becoming a challenge because they like to escape into virtual space.
Absolutely.
So,
streamlining, ma'am. Actually, as I told you, younger days it's easy, and when they become adult, they don't listen to us. But in the now that if at all they have crossed that age of stream, you are whatever you say they follow, then you ask them to you slowly streamline them, create an interest. For example, if everything is being told, you write what we are doing. You study for exam and write it. The children write the exam and forget the concept. But when they see a movie, when they play a game, they are so engrossed in it. So bring them in. There are so many things available in the form of how they like it. Even games are available. Even pictures are available. Pictures which are animated. Those things you bring in and try to streamline accordingly. In between, you give your narration. Yeah, we used to do like that. When we were young, so get that conversation go on with the virtual place in front of you. I think that will work. I'm actually not very skeptical about it. I'm really skeptical because the children might or might not come. But it is an effort. We can make an effort to do that. Possibly because this is a real need of the hour. Yes, ma'am, Sanjana ma'am.
No, thank you, ma'am. I was also actually wondering whether there is a way that maybe the actual application of the Vedas, that is the Vedic mathematics, or
Yes.
that some sort of thing can be introduced to the children through the
Absolutely,
school
ma'am.
side.
Most of the schools are doing it now. And actually, Vedic maths is not to be taught, even it is not required to be taught in the school.
Yeah,
If you just take a book on your own, just one or two in the beginning itself, it will give you, for us also, mathematics becomes very easy.
yeah,
It's
because
very simple and very nice. The lovely method of bringing in. So you can say that instead of memorizing so many things, you can do it easily.
this way, yes, but
Like that way, you create an interest. I think that is possible. Only it is only a trigger, some kind of
correct.
threshold, one point, pressure point. Just one pin only is required, then the children will be on. So that is where we have to try. Which button we have to press is something which we need to look for.
It's always a challenge of a parent
It's a very
to
big
find
challenge.
it.
It's very big challenge. Why means because we have left it like that in the beginning. We have not put that button brakes in the beginning. So now bringing back to the original thing, it is like a derailed train. We need a crane to put it back. If the train is on the rails all the time, we have no issue. So we need to bring it back to the thing, and we need a very big crane to come. Which crane, how to bring, is something which we can work individually, case to case. Our child, your child will not be having the same amount of energy in the crane to bring it up. So which crane, how much energy is required, I think we need to work on. I mean, we can ask them to listen to so many good things. Maybe you can take to people who can speak very interestingly and so on and so forth. I mean, it is all a possibility, but it is possible according to me.
Thank you so much.
So if everybody has done with their questions or anything, and I'm very happy that today I've been with you. I don't know, call it as a conclusion. This is the beginning of thinking about Vedas or science, not myth, and bringing that to our younger generation with a lot of effort from our side is something which I'm looking for. If any point this particular talk, 3 weeks, has brought in some kind of a trigger to any one of us, it will be a successful one. If one person is getting that kind of interest, it can spread to 100 people. Please pass on the message. Please share some of the interesting things which I've got in Vedas. Please find out few things, at least one small point every day. Somewhere, someplace we can find out. Then if you pass on to others, then we are also on the go. Now the time has come that we need to revive our history, our tradition, our heritage, our culture, our way of working, our entire science back to the world. Say that we are the people who taught you everything. That's what we need to bring in, and I feel that we can do it. As Indians, we have done extraordinary things, and this is also one of the extraordinary things. Reviving our religion, bringing it to back to its old glory is something which we need to do. I feel we all can do it. And thank you so much, Value Plus, and we will meet some other time and some other topic in future. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank
Vinita.
you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much for that lovely session. I'm very sure everybody wants to stay here and want to listen to you more and more. Because as you said in the beginning of the session, it's very difficult for us to, speak about our not Hindu culture or Hindu religion, about our Sanatana Dharma just in 3 sessions. So you have concised it in just 3 sessions for us, and you have brought in so many facts which has made us realize and understand. And also you were mentioning the trigger. Definitely it has triggered us, and it has also made us realize that as a parent, it is on us. There is a great onus on us for we need to pass on all these things to the children. We start realizing that our Sanatana Dharma is not a myth, it is actually a reality. We as a parent needs to understand that first, and then we need to pass on to our children. And you came in with so many ideas wherein we can use it with our children, actually this generation children. And I'm very sure all the parents agree with me, who is present. So thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you once again. for bringing in such a wonderful topic and bringing it in such a nice way. Thank you very much. We look forward for more such sessions, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
ma'am. Thank you. And to all the
Happy
parents,
Dashara to all of you.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you. And for all the parents who are present here, this is the first time we are conducting the workshop on Google Meet. Henceforth, we'll be conducting our parents' workshop on Google Meet. And this will also be available on our YouTube page. Please do visit our YouTube page and like and subscribe. And you can watch all the parent workshop there. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Happy Dashara to all of you. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy Dasara. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you,
very
ma'am.
much. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, ma'am. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, ma'am. Thank you.